Hello friends. What happens when fire meets earth? When Sagittarius, the free spirit of the zodiac, lands in the dependable, grounded year of the ox? You get a person who's both an idealist and a realist, a dreamer with a blueprint, a wild horse with a saddle. This unique cosmic combination is anything but ordinary. Sagittarius brings the visionary spark, the philosopher's mind, and the explorer's heart. The ox? It adds grit, endurance, and an iron will. Together, they form a personality that is magnetic, complex, and often misunderstood. Let's unravel this fascinating duality. What drives them in love? Who can keep up with them in marriage? What happens when passion meets practicality in the bedroom? How loyal are they as friends? And what dark sides lie beneath the polished surface? Let's explore all of it. Love, a tango of passion and principle. Falling in love with a Sagittarius born in the year of the ox is like being swept into a wild, sun-drenched storm. Not the chaotic kind that leaves destruction, but the type that clears the air, energizes your soul, and reminds you you're alive. They are not casual about love. Every glance, every word, every gesture, they weigh it all. This is not someone who blindly tumbles into romance. They study it, test it, feel it deeply, and once convinced, they dive in without a life jacket. But that dive only comes after they've scanned for the depth, rocks, and temperature of the water. It's not hesitation, it's intention. Their love is a sacred investment, not a gamble. This dual personality, Sagittarius fire and ox earth, creates a striking paradox. The Sagittarius in them longs for passion, movement, novelty, and philosophical connection. But the ox yearns for permanence, loyalty, reliability, and security. That means their ideal relationship must honor both of these energies. A weekend getaway to Morocco? Yes, but also, the comfort of knowing someone will share their morning coffee on a rainy Tuesday back home. They want a love that's both spontaneous and structured, both poetic and practical. A love where two people build a shared vision, yet retain their individuality. This person is remarkably good at blending romance with realism. They might bring you flowers, but also a fully thought-out plan for your future together. They may kiss you under the stars one night and discuss joint savings accounts the next. They aren't just in love with you, they're in love with the idea of building something that stands the test of time. If you're looking for someone who can create magic out of moments and show up when things get hard, look no further. Just know that empty promises or wishy-washy behavior will make them shut down instantly. They expect your feelings to be honest, grounded, and actively expressed. Now, let's talk about that signature Sagittarian flirt. It's bold but not desperate. Subtle, yet impossible to ignore. They'll charm you with razor-sharp wit, philosophical musings, and that glint in their eye that suggests they've lived 9 lives and still believe in magic. But the ox grounds that charm. It keeps them from chasing illusions. This person won't fall for just anyone. They may flirt widely, but love deeply and rarely. If they choose you, it's because you've earned a place in their inner world. A world that's guarded, complex, and worthy of respect. However, one of the most crucial truths about them is this: they need freedom. Not to be unfaithful or distant, but to breathe, evolve, and explore. If you suffocate them with jealousy or rules, they'll vanish, not dramatically, but gradually. They'll close up, they'll lose their spark, but if you understand their need for movement, learning, and independence, they'll reward you with fierce loyalty and emotional availability you've never known before. They don't want to leave, they just want to return with stories, souvenirs, and a new version of themselves that they can share with you. They also carry high standards, often shaped by a blend of traditional ox values and the idealistic moral code of Sagittarius. They believe in right and wrong, loyalty and integrity. Cheating, lies, or betrayal? That's a no-go, not just because it hurts, but because it violates their principles. They see love as a form of truth-telling, and they expect you to speak that truth with your words and your actions. They're not afraid of hard conversations. In fact, they welcome them, so long as they lead to deeper understanding, not manipulation or control. Yet for all their confidence, this person can be surprisingly vulnerable in love. That strength you see on the outside hides an inner softness, a longing to be truly seen. When they love with every fiber of their being. They will plan with you, sacrifice for you, and stand by you through your lowest moments. But they will also test you, not with games, but with their expectations. They want to know, will you grow with me? Will you let me be wild and still be my home? Will you keep choosing me, even when I'm evolving into someone new? Lastly, their love is never static. It evolves as they do. What thrills them in their 20s may bore them in their 30s. But this is not a sign of fading affection, it's a call to join them on the journey. They want a partner who will keep asking questions, trying new things, reflecting, and dreaming. If you can walk that path beside them, sometimes leading, sometimes following, you'll experience a love that's not just enduring, but transformational. A love that isn't just about being together, but becoming better, together. Marriage, steady as they go. Marriage to a Sagittarius born in the year of the Ox isn't a whirlwind romance full of dramatic highs and lows. It's a well-built cathedral, created stone by stone with vision, faith, and persistence. For this unique personality pairing, love is serious business. Marriage isn't a fantasy, it's a structured, intentional union built on trust, shared values, and long-term vision. This person doesn't fall into marriage, they choose it consciously, like planting a tree they intend to water for a lifetime. They approach it like they would any major endeavor, with strategy, focus, and a clear sense of purpose. They want marriage to be a safe haven and a platform for mutual growth. Once they commit, they are fully invested, emotionally, spiritually, and practically. They don't believe in halfway love or casual vows. Their Ox side brings a deep sense of duty and permanence. Divorce isn't something they enter lightly, it's often the absolute last resort, after every avenue has been explored and exhausted. The Sagittarian half of their spirit adds optimism, a belief that problems can be worked through, that the connection is worth saving. When the going gets tough, they double down. You'll often find them reading books on marriage, going to counseling, or initiating deep conversations to fix what's broken. They won't just let things slide, not if they believe in what the two of you are building. But this fierce loyalty also comes with high expectations. They're not looking for someone to just occupy space beside them. They want a partner, a true collaborator, not a dependent. If you lean too heavily on them without contributing emotionally, intellectually, or practically, they'll start to withdraw. Quietly, at first, then completely. They need a spouse who pulls their own weight, has their own passions, and shares the load of adult life. They believe marriage should be a team effort, not a babysitting job. They'll admire your independence and respect your ambition, especially if you're building something together. When it comes to children, it's very likely this duo will want a family. The Ox side loves tradition and legacy, while Sagittarius is often inspired by the next generation and the idea of shaping young minds. But they won't enter parenthood blindly. They see it as a long-term, deeply sacred mission. They'll be the type to research parenting styles, establish household rules, and still find time to tell fantastical bedtime stories filled with dragons and life lessons. They want to raise thoughtful, curious, resilient humans. They'll take the role of parent seriously, sometimes even too seriously, and may need to be reminded to loosen up and enjoy the messiness of family life. Even in marriage, though, don't expect them to settle into a monotonous domestic routine. While their Ox nature provides a sense of security and consistency, the Sagittarius side will crave evolution. They may propose relocating cities, shifting careers, adopting new belief systems, or taking a spontaneous trip to Iceland just because they read something interesting. Their partner has to embrace this restlessness, not fight it. Stability, yes, but not stagnation. Their idea of a good marriage is one where both partners grow and change over time, where change is welcomed, not feared. They need someone who can handle that dynamic tension between roots and wings. Someone who knows that even if the scenery changes, the bond remains. Their ideal spouse won't flinch when they switch careers at 40 or start meditating every morning after years of being a night owl. They want a partner who can weather the shifts, adjust the sails, and still say, "We're in this together." Someone who understands that marriage is not a museum, It's a living, breathing thing that needs to adapt, stretch, and sometimes completely reinvent itself. But there's a downside to their unrelenting commitment. Sometimes, they stay too long, work too hard, refuse to let go of something that's clearly broken. Their ox loyalty and Sagittarian idealism combine into a kind of emotional stubbornness. They'll keep hoping, keep fixing, keep sacrificing, even if they're the only one still fighting. That's why they need a partner who truly values the same long-term goals and emotional principles, because they don't do well with one-sided effort. Once they realize they're the only one rowing the boat, they'll eventually stop, and when they stop, they rarely restart. They are also not naturally emotionally expressive in stereotypical romantic ways. Their love may not always show up as flowers or fancy dinners. Instead, it shows up as showing up, fixing things, making plans, staying through the storm. They're the type who proves their love through action, not just words. But their partner may need to gently remind them that emotional affection matters too. That it's okay to just be together without solving a problem or planning the next 5 years. The more emotionally open their spouse is, the more they will open up in return, slowly but meaningfully. Lastly, what truly anchors them in marriage is the shared vision. They don't want to feel like two people just coexisting under one roof. They want to build something. It could be a family, a business, a shared cause, a dream home, anything that brings purpose to the partnership. Their happiest married years are the ones where both partners are working towards something bigger than themselves. Because for them, love isn't just an emotion, it's a mission. A structure, a promise, a journey, and once they believe in it, they're willing to walk that road with unwavering steps, one patient, passionate day at a time. Sex, passion with a blueprint. Let's strip away the cliches, because sex for a Sagittarius born in the year of the ox is not about conquest or simple release. It's not performative, it's intentional, multi-layered, and quietly intense. While the world may assume that a Sagittarius is spontaneous and always on the hunt for the next thrill, this particular Sag, tempered by the steady, rooted nature of the ox, approaches physical intimacy with a surprisingly thoughtful, almost sacred mindset. For them, great sex doesn't start in the body. It begins in the mind, travels through the heart, and only then lands in the physical realm. What makes this person so magnetic in the bedroom is the balance they strike between curiosity and consistency. The Sagittarian fire craves novelty. New sensations, new positions, new settings. They want to learn your body the way an explorer maps out undiscovered land. They approach intimacy with the thrill of adventure, but never recklessly. That's where the ox kicks in. The ox slows things down. It grounds the fire. It ensures that exploration has depth, repetition has refinement, and passion is sustainable, not just exciting. What results is a partner who is playful yet present, imaginative yet incredibly focused on you. They crave true connection more than they crave acrobatics. Yes, they enjoy the thrill of the unexpected, a sudden kiss, a spontaneous change in rhythm, a whispered confession in the dark. But even more than that, they crave understanding. They want to know what turns you on, not just physically, but emotionally and intellectually. They want to be inside your mind as much as your body. They want to feel like you're discovering each other layer by layer, like a puzzle they're not rushing to complete. For them, intimacy is a sacred study, and they'll commit to becoming fluent in your language of desire. One of their biggest turn-ons is a partner who refuses to go stale. If you're curious, confident, and willing to evolve, not just sexually, but as a whole person, they'll find themselves drawn to you over and over again. They don't need constant reinvention, but they do need engagement. A partner who surprises them, stimulates their imagination, or even initiates difficult, emotional conversations can reignite their physical passion like flipping a switch. They see intimacy as a living, breathing dialogue, not a script. If you treat sex as a way to connect on multiple levels, they'll never grow tired of you. But don't confuse their desire for novelty with flightiness. They're not flaky. In fact, they're incredibly selective. They don't just jump into bed with anyone. While the Sagittarius influence might give off a flirtatious, open energy vibe, the ox in them sets high standards. They're discerning. They want chemistry, yes, but chemistry with context. They need to feel emotionally safe and intellectually intrigued. They want to know that what's happening between you is real, rooted, and has the potential to grow into something more meaningful over time. They don't chase fleeting highs, they build legacies, even in love. In long-term relationships, they tend to approach sex like an art form in progress. They're rarely complacent, they'll seek to refine, expand, and deepen the connection. That could mean trying something new after years of being together, not out of boredom, but out of a desire to keep discovering you. They don't want sex to become mechanical. Routine kills their libido faster than stress ever could. But if you remain emotionally open, mentally active, and physically expressive, you'll find that their commitment only deepens with time. They don't burn out, they burn brighter as the bond grows. They also have an underappreciated romantic streak, especially in private. They won't always show it in public. They tend to keep their sensual nature behind closed doors, but once they trust you, they're deeply affectionate. They may show love through lingering touches, whispered affirmations, or creating special atmospheres with lighting, music, or thoughtful gestures. The ox brings a subtle sensuality, while Sagittarius adds passion and experimentation. This makes for a lover who is both devoted and daring, equally capable of slow intimacy or wild abandon, depending on the emotional climate between you. Emotionally, they need to feel respected and appreciated in the bedroom. They're proud and quietly vulnerable, even if they don't show it. If they sense that their efforts go unnoticed or that their partner is disengaged, they'll retreat. They're unlikely to start fights about it, but they will emotionally detach, and once that spark fades, it can be hard to reignite. The key to keeping their passion alive is reciprocity. Meeting their energy, matching their curiosity, and being fully present in every moment. They don't want to just please you, they want to know they're seen, felt, and wanted in return. At their best, they offer a sexual relationship that is incredibly rich and layered, the kind that evolves with time and deepens with trust. It's not about frequency or technique, though those things can matter. It's about mutual growth, emotional safety, and staying in tune with each other's ever-shifting desires. This is the kind of lover who doesn't just want sex, they want sex that means something. That tells a story, that reflects who you both are and where you're going together. And if you can bring your full self to that story, they'll keep writing new chapters with you for years to come. Friendship, loyalty overload. Having a Sagittarius born in the year of the ox as a friend is like having your own personal guardian, guru, and adventure guide rolled into one. But don't expect instant access to that inner circle. They are not the type to collect dozens of shallow friendships. They are selective, even skeptical at first. They observe, they test, they watch how you treat others, how you respond to pressure, how consistent you are. Only after you've proven yourself, not through words, but through time and reliability, will they start to open up. And once they do, their loyalty is fierce, unconditional, and nearly impossible to shake unless you break their code of trust. To this person, loyalty isn't just a nice quality, it's the backbone of any relationship. They do not forgive betrayal easily, and they certainly don't forget it. Once you're in their trusted circle, they will show up for you in ways that are both grand and subtle. They'll remember your big interview, bring you medicine when you're sick, and call you out kindly but firmly when you're about to make a terrible life choice. They're not clingy, but they're deeply invested. If someone threatens you or your peace, they'll step up, not with gossip or drama, but with strategy, calm force, and a clear sense of moral grounding. They are the fortress friend, solid, dependable, and always thinking one step ahead. They also bring an unexpected dose of fun and depth. This is not your surface-level brunch buddy. This is the friend who will stay up with you until 3 a.m. talking about the meaning of life, or send you a book that reminded them of something you said months ago. They blend Sagittarian humor, witty, sharp, and a little sarcastic, with ox-like wisdom and stability. One minute you'll be laughing so hard you can't breathe, the next they're challenging you with a philosophical idea that makes you question everything. They are the glue in many social groups, the one who plans the gatherings, keeps the peace, and somehow makes everyone feel included without losing their edge. They also have a planning streak that's borderline legendary. A typical Sagittarius might dream up an impromptu camping trip and hope it works out, but a Sagittarius Ox will not only suggest it, they'll actually book the cabin, pack the essentials, create a Spotify playlist, and map out the best trails. They mix spontaneity with preparation, which makes them incredibly fun and low stress to travel with. Their friends often describe them as the ones who make things happen. You'll rarely find yourself stuck with a Sag Ox friend who flakes out last minute or leaves the logistics to someone else. If they're involved, it's getting done, and done well. But don't mistake their helpfulness for emotional availability 24/7. They have boundaries. They'll listen to your problems, offer thoughtful advice, and help you brainstorm solutions. But if your life is an endless loop of self-created chaos, they'll begin to quietly distance themselves. They don't do constant drama. They won't keep showing up for someone who refuses to help themselves. It's not because they're cold, it's because they deeply value peace, growth, and emotional responsibility. Their circle is small for a reason. They surround themselves with people who want to evolve, not stay stuck. They also value consistency. That means if you disappear for months without explanation, only to pop up when you need something, they'll notice, and they'll remember. It's not about holding grudges. It's about respecting the friendship as a living thing that requires mutual care. They don't need constant attention, but they do need genuine engagement. Show up for them in real ways, not performatively, not when it's convenient, and they will reward you with years, even decades, of unshakable support. Emotionally, they may not always be the first to cry with you, that's the Ox restraint at work, but they will stand by you when it counts. They are the friend who may not say, "I love you," every day, but they'll fix your flat tire, loan you money without a second thought, and defend you in rooms you're not even in. They show love through action, not just words. And once you understand their emotional language, you'll realize how deep their care actually runs. Lastly, what they seek most in friendship is alignment. Not perfection, not drama, not constant excitement. Just real, grounded, evolving people who are committed to their own personal growth. They are drawn to friends who ask big questions, who can laugh at themselves, who can ride through both still waters and storms with a steady hand. If you value truth, consistency, and curiosity, and you show up fully, you'll have them in your life for the long haul. And there's no better person to have in your corner. Because when they say, "I've got you," they mean it, and they'll prove it over and over again. Business, hustle meets vision. In the world of business, a Sagittarius born in the year of the Ox is not just a player, they are a powerhouse. This rare fusion of sky-high ambition and unshakable discipline creates someone who doesn't just dream up bold, world-changing ideas, they actually execute them with relentless precision. Sagittarius fuels the fire of inspiration, seeing patterns, opportunities, and future trends that others miss. Meanwhile, Ox gives that fire a structure: the patience to plan, the strength to endure, and the willpower to grind it out day after day. This person doesn't just chase success, they engineer it from the ground up. They have the rare ability to marry vision with practicality. Where most people live in one lane, either the dreamer or the doer, they glide back and forth between both. One moment they're whiteboarding a 10-year expansion plan, and the next, they're double-checking the numbers, fine-tuning the hiring process, and following up on vendor contracts. Their Sagittarian side loves to explore, to pitch, to expand, to connect. Their Ox side quietly builds the infrastructure to support all of it. That balance makes them an absolute force in industries where both creativity and discipline are required. They don't just want to start something, they want to see it thrive and last. They naturally gravitate toward roles of influence and leadership, but not because they want power for its own sake. Instead, they crave impact. You'll often find them in entrepreneurship, education, tech, media, international business, publishing, or nonprofit work, any field that allows them to teach, build, scale, or explore. They're often driven by a mission that's bigger than just profits. Whether they're launching a startup, writing a book, or running a global team, they want their work to mean something. They want to shift minds, raise standards, and leave a legacy. They're not built for clock-in, clock-out jobs. Give them autonomy and purpose, and they'll give you innovation and results. Their ability to strategize is unmatched. Sagittarius sees the big picture, the trends, the global possibilities, the philosophical why behind the mission. Ox handles the how. It's this dual focus that allows them to play both offense and defense in business. They can sit in a boardroom and discuss high-level direction, then roll up their sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of execution. They're the ones who can write the business plan, pitch it with passion, secure funding, and still make sure the product ships on time. Their mind is both a compass and a calculator, always scanning for what's possible and what's required. One of their greatest strengths, and occasional challenges, is perfectionism. They hold themselves to extraordinarily high standards, and they expect the same from the people around them. Deadlines are sacred. Accountability is everything. If they say they'll deliver, they will. But this level of dedication can make them critical of those who don't operate at the same intensity. They have little patience for laziness, excuses, or sloppy work. Yet, their perfectionism is never about ego. It's about honoring the craft. Whether they're coding, creating, or negotiating, they believe that excellence isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. They are also deeply values-driven in the way they work. Money, while welcome, is never the ultimate goal. They want to build wealth with purpose, to create businesses that align with their beliefs, support their communities, and reflect their personal integrity. This means they often gravitate toward companies with strong missions, or they start their own ventures so they can control the ethical compass. They're the ones who will walk away from a high-paying deal if it conflicts with their principles. To them, success without meaning feels hollow. They're not just building a career, they're building a life that matters. Despite their intensity, they are also remarkably generous. They believe knowledge is to be shared, and success is to be multiplied. They'll mentor younger colleagues, recommend friends for positions, and offer real advice that helps others level up. They're not threatened by other people's growth, they encourage it. They want to be surrounded by excellence, and they'll often help you become the best version of yourself just by being in their orbit. That said, don't ever take their kindness for granted. If you lie, cut corners, or act in bad faith, they will shut you down cold. They won't yell or retaliate, they'll simply withdraw their energy, and when that happens, the door is rarely reopened. They also know how to scale their ambition. While some people think big but get lost in the execution, and others stay small out of fear, this person understands timing. They're willing to start small, but they always have a bigger picture in mind. They'll grind through the early years, stacking skill after skill, resource after resource. And when the time comes to scale, they'll do it with precision. They're not impulsive, they're patient risk takers. That means their success often looks like it came overnight, when in truth, it was a decade in the making. They respect the process, and they rarely chase shortcuts. At their core, they believe business is a tool, not just for profit, but for progress. They want to create systems that make lives better, smarter, freer. Whether that's through a wellness brand, a publishing platform, or an education startup, their work is often tied to a personal mission. They measure success not just in numbers, but in impact. And when they hit their goals, they don't gloat, they set new ones. For them, hustle never ends, but it's never mindless. It's always tethered to a vision, a blueprint, a belief, and that's why, in the long run, this Sagittarius Ox combination doesn't just win, they redefine the game. Dark sides, fire burns and ox kicks. Let's talk about what lies beneath the confident stride and calculated ambition of a Sagittarius born in the year of the ox. Because as magnetic and inspiring as they are, this blend of fire and earth comes with its own unique brand of shadow. The kind of shadow that doesn't always show up loudly, but instead simmers just beneath the surface, often masked by competence, charisma, or conviction. When their energy tips out of balance, these individuals can move from brilliant to blinding, from grounded to immovable, and from passionate to exhausted and resentful, sometimes without even realizing it. One of their most persistent struggles is arrogance disguised as certainty. Sagittarius, when unchecked, leans toward righteousness, believing that their truth is the truth. Add Ox's stubborn, slow to admit wrong nature to the mix, and you get someone who might dig in their heels on a viewpoint just because backing down feels like a loss of dignity. In conversation, this can come off as preachy or dismissive. In conflict, it can turn icy and immovable. The tragedy here is that they often know when they're wrong deep down, they just have a hard time admitting vulnerability, especially if they feel like their authority or integrity is being challenged. They also have a tendency toward extremes. They don't coast, they don't dabble, they go all in or disappear completely. That intensity can be inspiring, but it also burns them out, fast. They'll load their plate with more projects than one person can handle, overcommit to emotional labor in their relationships, and keep pushing through exhaustion like it's some kind of badge of honor. And then, when they finally crash, when the world they've been holding up doesn't recognize the weight they've carried, they might explode, implode, or just ghost everyone. These emotional breakdowns aren't frequent, but when they happen, they're unmistakable. Another difficult dynamic in their personality is their need for both control and freedom, which often makes them feel internally at war. They crave independence and despise being boxed in, but they also like things to be done their way, on their timeline, by their standards. That contradiction can be hard to live with, for roommates, partners, friends, and even colleagues. One moment they're micromanaging everyone's schedule or project workflow, the next they're completely unavailable because they need to go off and find clarity. This isn't selfishness, it's their complex wiring. They're not trying to be erratic. They're just trying to balance chaos and order in a world that never quite keeps up. When their perfectionism goes unchecked, it mutates into hypercriticism, especially of themselves. They hold impossible standards, not just for work, but for how they show up in every corner of life. And when they inevitably fall short, they don't forgive easily, especially when it's themselves. This internal self-judgment can become a kind of quiet suffering. Outwardly, they might appear successful, calm, or even joyful. But inside, they're dissecting every misstep, replaying every awkward moment, punishing themselves with silent scrutiny. Their inner critic doesn't yell. It lectures, relentlessly. They can also hold on to the past like it's a book they haven't finished. Failed relationships, business ventures that didn't take off, friendships that ended abruptly. They carry these stories long after everyone else has moved on. Their Ox loyalty won't let them forget, and their Sagittarius optimism keeps them searching for closure that might never come. It's not uncommon for them to revisit old emails, reread text conversations, or dream about people they haven't spoken to in years. Letting go isn't their strength, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they feel a responsibility to understand everything before they release it. Their desire to help others and do things the right way can sometimes make them rigid and controlling without realizing it. They believe in systems, frameworks, strategies, and when other people operate outside those systems, they might silently judge or distance themselves. They'll say things like, "I just can't work with chaos," but what they mean is, "I don't know how to trust something I didn't build or control." This tendency can alienate creative or free-flowing people in their orbit, who may find their intensity suffocating or their structure limiting. The Sag Ox doesn't mean harm, but their love for order can unintentionally shut out spontaneity and messiness, which are often necessary for deeper connection. Emotionally, they can be hard to read. Their stoic Ox exterior can mask a deeply reactive interior, and their Sagittarian optimism often leads them to gloss over pain or dismiss discomfort with a "it's all good" kind of energy. But it's not always all good, and when they suppress what's actually happening, especially their own feelings, they end up disconnecting from themselves and others. They become high-functioning but emotionally unavailable. They'll be productive, helpful, and outwardly calm while internally simmering with feelings they can't or won't name. Finally, they're often deeply afraid of failure, not because of what it means to others, but because of what it means to their self-image. Their inner narrative is built around being the person who gets things done, who shows up strong, who leads with clarity. When they fail, they don't just lose momentum, they lose identity. That's why they'll work themselves into exhaustion, suffer in silence, and refuse to ask for help. Not because they're prideful in the traditional sense, but because they've built their worth around being the one who doesn't need saving. In their darkest moments, this Sag-Ox combo can feel like a walking contradiction. Grounded yet restless, warm yet guarded, confident yet haunted by doubt. Their fire can inspire or burn. Their strength can protect or isolate. And their loyalty, while noble, can sometimes chain them to things they've long outgrown. But the beauty of these shadows is that they aren't flaws, they're just unrefined powers. And once this person learns how to own, soften, and balance them, they become not just unstoppable, but deeply whole. Life goals, legacy, meaning, and freedom. This person doesn't just want a life. They want a legacy, and not the kind that fades with time or rests on superficial accomplishments. A Sagittarius born in the year of the Ox is here to build something enduring, something that still echoes long after they're gone. While others chase status or comfort, they chase significance. They don't want to just exist, they want to leave the world better, wiser, or more inspired because they were in it. For them, the ultimate life goal is not success by society's standards, but alignment with their inner code, and impact that stretches beyond their personal circle. Sagittarius craves meaning. Ox craves structure. That's the foundation of their ambition. Not just to build, but to build what matters. They aren't content with climbing ladders unless those ladders lead to a view that touches the soul. Whether it's designing a new school curriculum, launching a values-based business, starting a humanitarian initiative, or crafting a body of creative work, their driving question is always, does this reflect who I really am? They want their life's work to represent something true, solid, and transformational, not trendy or performative. Their ambitions are rarely random. Whatever they pursue must feel soul deep. You won't catch them jumping into a startup just for the money or taking a promotion just for the title. Their Sagittarian side pushes them to explore ideals, purpose, ethics, and long-term meaning. Their Ox nature demands structure, sustainability, and clear results. So whatever they devote their life to, it has to blend vision with viability. They're the kind of person who'll spend a decade building a company that changes the way people think, not for the exit strategy, but because it's their mission. They may write books, launch nonprofits, build multi-generational businesses, or lead movements, but only if those efforts reflect their inner truth. They don't fake passion well. If the soul's not in it, the body won't follow. They live by a code of integrity, and that means their greatest goals are values-driven. They'd rather fail at something they believe in than win at something that feels empty. And when they do win, and they often do, it's because they've poured every ounce of discipline, intellect, and fire into the goal. Their wins aren't luck, they're legacy building by design. They also value honor above almost anything else. Integrity isn't just a virtue to them, it's a compass. They're not seduced by quick fame or hollow praise. They're not easily corrupted. They don't chase popularity, because they understand that being widely known isn't the same as being deeply respected. If you gave them a choice between 10 million followers and one lasting impact on a single life, they'd choose the life. They want their name to stand for something. Not noise, not clout, truth. They build slow, but they build right. Freedom, however, is the thread that ties everything together. They need the freedom to think independently, to pivot, to evolve. If their structure becomes a prison, they will break out, forcefully, even dramatically. It's not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about staying true to their essence. If their job, relationship, or environment starts to strangle their growth, they will burn it all down and start again. This is someone who will change careers in midlife not because they failed, but because they've outgrown the old dream. They understand that legacy is not a static thing, it evolves with who they are becoming. This is the person who might move to another country at 45 to start fresh. Or go back to school at 50 to study something that's been calling to them for years. Or walk away from a stable career to live on a quiet farm, write poetry, and reconnect with what matters most. These shifts are not random, they're calculated acts of liberation. Sagittarius gives them the courage to leap. Ox gives them the plan to land. They don't just chase dreams, they engineer transformation, often in ways that inspire others to do the same. They also have a deep desire to teach, uplift, and empower. Whether formally or informally, they carry the energy of a mentor. Their goals often extend beyond personal success and lean into the collective. How can I help others rise? How can I pass on what I've learned? How can I turn my experiences into guidance for someone else's journey? It's not about ego, it's about service through wisdom. They know that real legacy is not just what you build, it's who you impact. Their relationship with success is philosophical. They're not interested in surface wins. They define success in terms of alignment, integrity, and contribution. It's about whether they stayed true to their path, respected their values, and moved others forward in the process. That's why their life goals may not always make sense to others. They might turn down flashy opportunities or choose an unconventional road, but from their point of view, everything they do is part of a larger mission, one they've spent their whole life quietly shaping. At the end of the day, what they want most is to leave something behind that speaks for them, long after they're gone. A philosophy, a product, a foundation, a story, a system. Something that continues to create goodness, clarity, or progress in the world. Their life goals are less about personal glory and more about creating something that ripples outward. Something that others can pick up, build on, and carry forward. Because for a Sagittarius Ox, success isn't about the spotlight. It's about the impact. It's about knowing, without a doubt, that their time here meant something real. Final thoughts. The Sagittarius Ox individual is a walking paradox, not in a fragmented, chaotic way, but in a beautifully integrated, almost poetic sense. They are a contradiction in harmony, a person who can be both wild and grounded, spontaneous and strategic, passionate and patient. They are the rare kind of soul who can look up at the stars and dream of changing the world, then roll up their sleeves and build a plan brick by brick to actually make it happen. They are the warrior philosopher, someone who can fight for what matters with unshakable determination while contemplating the deeper meaning behind every battle. What makes this person so unforgettable is their depth. They are not here to skate across the surface of life. They are here to dig in, to get their hands dirty, to explore every inch of what it means to live, love, lead, and grow. Their Sagittarian fire pushes them to ask big questions, challenge assumptions, and blaze new trails. Their ox-born nature gives them the endurance to stay the course, to finish what they start, and to follow through when the glamour wears off. They are as capable of spontaneous adventure as they are of building a legacy that spans generations. They don't just crave experiences, they crave experiences that matter. This is the kind of person who will challenge you and stretch you. They don't settle for surface-level friendships, lazy thinking, or hollow praise. They want authenticity. They'll ask questions that make you pause. They'll hold you accountable to your best self. And they'll lead by example. When you're around them, you'll feel both inspired and, occasionally, a little called out, because their very presence pushes others to rise. They can be intense, yes. But that intensity comes from a place of deep integrity and belief that life is too short for anything less than full-hearted living. They will teach you, whether they mean to or not. Through conversation, through action, through simply existing with their unique mix of idealism and discipline, they reveal what it means to live with purpose. You'll learn how to hold space for contradictions, how someone can be both emotionally independent and deeply loyal, both logical and romantic, both spontaneous and responsible. Watching them navigate life is like reading a beautifully complex novel that surprises you with every chapter but always feels deeply human at its core. They will push you, not in a way that's controlling or harsh, but in a way that says, I see what you're capable of, and I won't let you shrink. They won't coddle you or feed your excuses, but they will stand by you as you grow. They believe in strength through struggle, and they'll remind you that obstacles are often invitations to evolve. They'll cheer for your wins, hold space for your losses, and challenge your stagnation. With them, personal development isn't just encouraged, it's expected. They will love you in a way that's both fierce and thoughtful. They love with their whole being, their mind, their body, their values, their time. They'll bring you flowers and fix your broken sink. They'll remember your dreams and edit your resume. Their love is shown through action, devotion, and presence. They don't play games. They don't half love. If they choose you, they've thought it through, and they're all in. But they'll still need space, not from you, but for themselves. To think, to breathe, to grow. And if you give them that space, they'll return to you with even more to give. They will sometimes confuse you. You'll wonder how the same person who meticulously color-coded a 5-year plan is also the one who booked a spontaneous trip to Nepal without telling anyone. You'll be surprised when their tough exterior gives way to deep emotional insight. You'll watch them preach self-discipline while secretly staying up until 2 a.m. working on a new project just because inspiration struck. But if you can see past the contradictions, you'll realize they aren't confusing at all. They're just expansive, capable of holding multitudes in ways most people never dare. And one thing's for sure, they will never be boring. Life with a Sagittarius Ox is full of meaning, motion, and motivation. They bring momentum wherever they go. Conversations are rich, adventures are plentiful, goals are ambitious. They make the ordinary feel epic and the epic feel possible. They're the kind of person who reinvents themselves not because they're lost, but because they're always evolving. Being in their presence feels like standing on the edge of something bigger, because it is. So if you know a Sagittarius Ox, or if you are one, embrace the contradictions. You weren't made to fit a mold. You were made to build your own path, one forged in fire and fortified with patience. You're not here to be average. You're here to be absolutely unforgettable. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check the links in the description for more stories like this one. And if someone you know is a Sagittarius Ox, send this to them and ask, is this you? Because odds are, it absolutely is.